you in filling out the survey. Additional support is available by calling 1-866-735-2001. After you complete the survey, the program will send you periodic updates and information regarding next steps by email or text message. You must provide a valid email address or cell phone number as part of the survey to receive these updates. In order to complete the survey, you will need the following: FEMA registration numbers for the disasters that have damaged your home, the name of your hazard or flood insurance provider, and your policy number if available. Before completing the survey, be sure to check your FEMA paperwork to verify if FEMA determined that your home received major severe damage from flooding, ice, or wind. If you have questions or want to appeal your FEMA determination, you are encouraged to contact FEMA now. For more information about the Restore Louisiana Homeowner Assistance Program, visit restore.la.gov.
Over 170 teams converged on the Edward A. Dufresne Community Center to compete at the United Way of St. Charles's Battle for the Paddle. The wildly popular event, which kicks off the United Way's annual fundraising campaign, is also immensely important to the organization and the various causes it supports throughout our community.
I keep using the word community because our industry, our companies here, they buy into the community and support the event. And it just makes it the best party in town.
United Way is such an integral part of our community. Their services help so many. And with the last couple of years that we've had with Hurricane Ida, with COVID, there are more people in need than ever before. And that means that the United Way's mission is more important than it ever has been.
Speaking of community, it takes numerous groups and agencies to make the competition happen.
You know, our Public Works Department helps so much with this. Our Recreation Department helps tremendously. It couldn't be possible without some of these other organizations helping to make this event flow smoothly. So I want to thank them. I want to thank the Sheriff's Office for all the support they provide, as well as our RSVP seniors and all the other volunteers who come out and work this event.
Folks who attended the event had the chance to dig into jambalaya, gumbo, and a new addition to this year's contest, pastalaya.
I've had a few pastalayas, but all the different noodles and techniques everyone's using, I don't know, I haven't seen all of it yet, but it's pretty cool that they added it.
Very delicious. The gumbo was, I'm ready to go get more gumbo. The gumbo was good too.
Hey man, beautiful weather, good food, cold beer, good music, just hanging out.
And while the setting was fun and lively, the competition was serious business, as teams tried to capture the coveted paddle for each of the 3 dishes, all while contributing to a worthy organization.
United Way is a great tool to give back to the communities, and we feel this is a good time to get out and interact with the community, other companies that believe in the United Way as well, and show our support.
Well, it's a lot of hard work, but it feels good giving back to the community, you know, just helping people out. It's a good cause.
But I think what we're particularly appreciative of is the community has supported us in a way that has allowed us to continue those things and still put, at this point, $1.2 million into Ida recovery and helping people get back in their homes.
And no matter who held those paddles at the end of the day, it was our community that won in the end. A substantial piece of St. Charles Parish's levee system is completed and online. The Parity Gate, which is a $5 million project, is the linchpin that connects the two major levee reaches on the parish's west bank.
There's so many people who are involved in this project, multiple administrations, multiple people who worked for the parish, multiple councils who had the steadfast determination to make this a reality. This project took almost a decade, or maybe a little over a decade to get done. And it just shows that you have to have the forward thinking, you have to have the plan in place to do these major types of projects to provide this protection for our residents.
This is a really important project because it really helps protect the kind of the backwater flooding. So of all the levee work that's been done, West Bank and vicinity and everything, this really, and in conjunction with the pump station itself, this really protects the water from getting back into the parish from the protected side. So without this structure, the citizens would continue to flood. And this is why this is such a critical project.
I'm pleased to see this structure. In fact, when I turned the corner over there, I said, I said I would never live to see this structure, and there it is right now.
The project, which was years in the making, didn't just take time, it took much work and considerable collaboration.
Just to give you an idea, this structure here was first talked about in our office with Sam in 2014. And now today, we finally seen it come to reality.
It's been a great day for the team. It's been a great day for the parish. The system we built so far we've been through 3 separate administrations. And so it's been very rewarding to be able to carry the levee system forward through 3 separate administrations. And every administration had the same vigor, and I say vigor, to keep the system going. And the same vigor to want to provide the level of protection that we need for the residents of St. Charles.
It's a link, if you will, to the next chapter, the future of a closed flood protection system on our West Bank.
There's a lot of hard work that goes into getting grant funds and a lot of steps along the way. So whenever we get to this particular part of the process, it's very nice to finally see all of that come together to have a completed project.
Spanning across terms, generations, decades, we're really truly protected now from whatever comes our way, and I thank everyone here and everyone who's had a part in this very, very heavy lift. We are in a good place in St. Charles Parish.
The structure, combined with the levees connected to it, will provide lasting protection for residents and businesses on the West Bank for years to come.
The Parity Gate links the 8.6 miles.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Charles Parish meeting on Monday, January 9th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers in the Parish Courthouse. Please silence all electronic devices and remove all hats. This meeting is called to order with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance from Pastor Caleb Dufresne of the First Assembly of God and His Almonds.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you, Lord, that you promised your Holy Spirit, God, that leads us into all truth, Father. You also promised, God, that whoever freely asks for wisdom, you will give it, God. So tonight we ask, God, Lord, we bless your name, God. We thank you that you order all of our steps, God. So we lean into your voice, God, and we say yes to your guidance, Lord. In your precious name, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Dufresne. Okay, and a motion and a second is needed for approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of December 5th, 2022. Do we have a motion? Okay, we have a motion made by Councilman Gibbs and a second by Lysandra Gordon. You ready for a vote? And that motion passes unanimously with Councilwoman Julia Fisher Cormier absent.
And Councilman Dufresne absent.
And Councilman Dufresne absent. I thought he was here.
He's not in his seat.
Oh, he's
for
not
the
in his
vote.
seat, okay. Okay, there he is. Special business proclamations and canvass returns. Item number 2022-0358, in recognition, Councilman Bob Fisher. The Parish of St. Charles, in recognition of service, and the St. Charles Parish Council deeply appreciates your year of commitment as Council Chair of the St. Charles Parish Council, Bob Fisher, January 10, 2022 through December 19, 2022.
Thank you, Madam Chair, my fellow council people. It was a pleasure to serve as your chairman for last year. Very, very enjoyable. Mr. Gibbs said I would learn a lot as chairman, and he was true. So looking forward to this year, kind of letting y'all handle it and step back a little bit. So, but thank y'all. I really appreciate the recognition.
Okay, item number 2022-0359, in recognition, Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Parish of St. Charles, in recognition of service, the St. Charles Parish Council deeply appreciates your year of commitment as Council Vice Chair of the St. Charles Parish Council. Beth A. Billings, January 10th, 2022 to December 19th, 2022. Thank you, Ms. Billings.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Councilman Gibbs. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
I learned quite a bit as serving as vice chair under Councilman Fisher. I look forward to learning even more this year as your chair. So thank you very much. All right. Also in recognition, Mr. Gibbs.
The St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President deeply appreciate your years of service on the Regional Planning Commission. Tommy Fauché, December 7th, 2020 to January 8th, 2023.
Come on, Tommy.
Thank you, Councilman Gibbs. Yes, ma'am. Item number 2022-0361, proclamation, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Ms. Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Whereas it is appropriate that on January 16, 2023, we celebrate and offer special recognition to Dr. Martin Luther King for his unselfish, nonviolent dedication to the civil rights movement. And whereas we recognize that his fortitude and dedication to the civil rights movement has carved a place for Dr. King in history for all races as a continual fight for freedom, equality, and justice. And whereas Dr. King, born in Atlanta, ordained a Baptist minister in 1954, received his doctorate from Boston University in 1955, received the 1964 Nobel Peace Prize, and became a leader of the U.S. civil rights, spoke from his heart on August 28, 1963, on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial when he gave his famous speech, "I Have a Dream." And whereas Dr. King's words rang out across America and became deeply rooted in the American dream that we would follow the true meaning of the words of Abraham Lincoln. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, the true dream of Dr. King. And whereas Dr. King was assassinated on the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee on April 4, 1968, marking the passage of history and an understanding that Dr. King did not die in vain, but whose leadership and dreams will live on through history with the yearly celebration throughout the United States as a day of remembrance. So in remembrance of the contribution of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., as a leader of the civil rights movement, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president, do hereby proclaim January 16, 2023, as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in St. Charles Parish, and we have Ms. Lillian August and Mr. Dwayne LaGrange to receive.
Good evening. I'd like to take an opportunity to thank the council and the parish president for the proclamation that's been presented to the MLK organization tonight. We would like to also extend an opportunity for you to come out and walk with us and march with us. We also have a commemorative program that's going to take place on January 16th at 10:30 at the West Bank Bridge Park. We're going to march from there, stop at the school board office for a short prayer. From there, we'll pick up and go straight to Landry Alternative School, where we'll have our commemorative program there. So please come out and join us on January 16th at 10:30 a.m. at the West Bank Bridge Park. We thank you.
All right, moving right along here. Reports and Finance Administration activities. Item number 2022-0362, GIS Information Systems. Mr. Martinez.
Good evening, Parish President, members of the council. I had to make sure I'm presenting something else afterwards, so I want to make sure this is the right one. Okay. Tonight I'm giving you an update, just a brief update of the projects that I'm working on in the parish. I had sent you guys an email. This in November we launched a system called SCP Reported, which it's an online system that's available 24/7. That's available 24/7, where residents can report, non-emergency things like streetlight outages, request debris pickup, request garbage cans, and so on. Previously, this is an update to what we've had in the past, but previously it was a pretty cumbersome process where they email or call somebody, and there's no really way to document things or have anybody accountable for things because it's just lost in this bunch of emails. So the system that we have now, it's easily available on a mobile phone or a desktop computer where residents can they're forced to fill certain things out, like the correct address, the correct email and phone number so we can get back in touch with them in case, because historically it's been a problem where they'll mistype something and it's hard to go deliver a trash can to the wrong address, for example, or track down a light pole in the wrong area. So along with that, we have the management end. So this is all custom out. We don't have any, this is completely custom code built here in the parish and with a little bit of contract work, but the back end of this software here allows the contract monitor's office to go in and generate reports easily for single or multiple items at one time, as well as track the status of the request easily. So it generates something similar to this on the screen where they can attach it to a work order, and so far it's working pretty good. Last year I think we had. Last year we had an older version of it that was a little cumbersome to use, and we had to update the whole front and back end of it. So we haven't had any complaints so far. So far so good. Coming up with for 2023, we've been collecting a lot of data over the years. With the drainage, everybody's familiar with the waterworks, wastewater drainage system. But now, thinking forward, I want to be able to relay all that information, not just internally to the parish departments, but to the residents as well. So I want to build what we're calling a hub. It's a front end to the GIS database, where it's going to be similar to a website, but everything's accessible from like a one-stop shop. So if you want to know, if you want to look at your zoning or land use or polling locations, for example, you can go to one place. You don't have to go look all over the place and search for URLs in different locations. It's all available in one location. It's going to be managed by privileges where people have certain access to certain things, like the residents can't go in and tinker with some of the drainage stuff, but they can look at other items as well. So that's going to be the moving forward, the next project that we have. It should also eliminate a lot of the data requests that we get. We get the public records requests for data that's pretty much available just by clicking on a link everywhere else across the state. So if we do that here, I think it'll eliminate a lot of the paperwork or the records request through the council's office. So, and the second project that I'd like to work on is we've had a hefty investment in the GIS system over the course of the years. So with so much data coming in, being managed now, I want to create like a GIS monitor. It's some software application that we can monitor the health and performance and the status of the software, the system, everything, how it's working as a whole, to make sure everything's working properly. So that, along with a lot of the other day-to-day operation stuff we do typically with drainage, waterworks, et cetera, these are the two of the bigger projects that we're going to be focusing on this year. So I think that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Councilman Fonseca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Louis, the SCP report is live currently?
Yes.
Great.
It was launched in November.
Good. Well, thank you for doing that. I'm sure it's an improvement. I just also wanted to thank you for your work post-disaster, recording, documenting all the damages. You were out there the Saturday morning after the tornadoes in Kelowna, working alongside planning and zoning, and the work that you do there is really important as well. So thanks for all you do.
Mm-hmm.
Councilwoman Cluley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Louis, I actually went into the St. Charles Reported website and to report an issue. So how does a resident get feedback? It goes back to the email that they put in?
Yes, it sends you an email.
As a report?
Yes, so let you know, it notifies a resident that their request has been received. The older system did notify you when the status changed from like received to in progress or completed. That's coming up this year, I think, because I think some of the software changed on the back end that has something to do with Outlook 365, I think, or licensing, but it should be a fairly quick fix.
I appreciate you keeping our GIS as up to date as it is. Can Surveyor actual land surveyors get in and use any of the information that you put into the system?
Yeah, we have a web portal they can access.
Okay.
A lot of times we try to divert them to the assessor's office because they have the most accurate, like, ownership information. We deal more with the spatial component of it. We'll go out and map, locate the iron rods, and fix the size and shape of the parcel. Send it back over to them. They adjust update the ownership records and pass it back to us. But
I
usually if they're
appreciate the
looking for
information that you put online is invaluable. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilman, Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Listen, I want to thank you. The past 3 years, what you've done, bringing us from, I like to say, the Stone Age of Google Earth to being able to, at any point in time, look at points, look at reference points. It's been really helpful. I know Mr. Bingham and with Public Works, and I know with Waterworks, but I can tell you just from having concerns from residents on, hey, I caught a catch basin, I don't know what this is, to some of the things that you guys have found, some of the cross-section surveys that we can start fixing culverts and things like that. It's been amazing. So, and this access to that information is just going to make it so much easier. So I'm looking forward to what you're going to do this year.
I appreciate it. Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Thank you, Councilman Fisher. Also, Mr. Martinez, I imagine this is going to be a lot more streamlined and prevent the redundancy that we see often, so thank you very much.
It will. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Martinez.
All right, thanks.
Item number 2022-0363, Parish Presidents from Board, Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Congratulations to you as you start your new position this year. And I'll give just a happy new year to the entire St. Charles Parish Council. Looking forward to hopefully a quiet and productive year. Haven't had one yet, but we can always hope. Man can dream. First, I'd like to start with an update on Kelowna. These are just two pictures here side by side. One was probably the day after. The next is you can kind of see the work that we've been doing to clean it up. That work includes cleaning up the ditches from debris on both sides of the road. We wanted to get out there and start cleaning properties the very next day. We knew that we had to give a lot of our residents time to go through their belongings and take whatever they could get out. We also had to wait for Entergy and Atmos and a couple of other folks to restring the lines in there to connect anybody who could receive power to electricity. But we've been making great progress. Residents are signing ROEs with the parish, so a right of entry for us to get on the property and remove the debris, and we're working with them every step of the way to make sure that we are taking what they want us to remove from the property. We're also working with the state. The state is doing, I think I mentioned this, is doing a 75-25 on this debris removal. We have activated DRC to help with that debris removal process, as we're going to have to remove some large mobile home chassis and other items that we aren't really accustomed to handling as Public Works. So that is ongoing. We do have about 6 properties, soon to be probably 8 properties by tomorrow, that are ready to accept trailers. And we are expecting for trailers to go out this week for the initial installation. The installation will happen. They will be inspected. The electrical will be inspected after the contractor installs them. And once all of the utilities are hooked up, the keys will be turned over to the residents for them to occupy those. I'm very proud of the work we've been able to do. We've been able to move pretty quickly on this, and been able to work through a lot of issues as we move on. So for sure, not done. Still a lot of work to do, and this is just in addition to all of the work we've done. Again, I want to say thanks to our Community Services Office, who has been tremendous at making sure that people receive the services and resources that they need during this process. We're going to continue to do that as much as possible. And again, I want to say thanks to all of the residents, both here and in other parishes, who have come to donate for the survivors of this tornado. I want to thank the folks who were running the Kelowna Firehouse as they distributed materials as well, and to thank all the nonprofit groups once again for all the help that they've been doing. We are very blessed as a parish to be able to have those resources and to be able to have people who come together and help our brothers and sisters in times of need. So we'll stay on the ground, and we will keep you all updated on that. We have wet ground conditions right now. As you know, we've been doing smoke testing in the Old Luling area and pipelining. Again, we do this smoke testing by pumping a non-toxic smoke into the sewer system and seeing where it seeps out. In those areas where it seeps out, that's where we know rainwater is infiltrating into the sewer system. So as we identify all these areas, the next process is coming back and lining the pipe. They use kind of it's not unique, but it is kind of a newer process where they will kind of push a fiberglass liner inside of that pipe. It cures and seals the pipe. So we are focusing on the Old Luling watershed. You can see phase 1, 2, and 3 because we've identified it through the sewer master plan as the most critical area with the most issues regarding infill and infiltration. After we're done with that, we will move on to another basin, as we call it, and start there. When we get that information on what basin that'll be, I will let you all know. But again, I want to get back to my notes here. The ground conditions are wet, which make the smoke testing a little bit harder to do. So they have postponed that to this Wednesday. So Wednesday through Friday, so January 11th through 13th, the tests are going to be done so that we have time to allow the ground to dry out. We did send an updated press release on that. Sales tax numbers. So sales tax numbers for November were up 40% from November of 2021. So year to date, the figures are up by 11%. You know, I was talking to my directors and I was saying, you know, how's it up so much? Was it our Take Care of Business campaign? I'm still trying to claim that. But then I realized that when you have incredible inflation and everything costs more money, so do the taxes. So we're probably going to chalk it up to that. We hope that the federal government can get the inflation under control, and they could probably start by not printing so much money. But I'm off of my remarks here. We have the MLK book drive coming up. So RSVP, our volunteers, are collecting books for school-age children to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and legacy of service. Bring a new or gently used book to the RSVP office inside of our Edward A. Dufresne Community Center, located at 274 Judge Edward Dufresne Parkway. The books can be dropped off from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And we were very successful with this book drive last year. We hope it's another big success this year. I had a short report tonight. I do want to turn it over to Louis. Louis Martinez did some great work after Hurricane Ida, determining how much land loss that we have from Hurricane Ida. And let me just say thanks to Louis for your initial report. GIS is one of those departments that really makes our life much easier. And as Ms. Cluley said, that the data that they are collecting is invaluable, and they are the data they collect is well worth the cost of that department. And I hope that in the future we will continue to expand that department and embed people from his department in public works and wastewater and waterworks to be even better about that data collection. So with no further ado, Louis, please give us your special report on Hurricane Ida, post-Hurricane Ida.
All right, thanks. Well,
one moment,
thank you,
please.
President Jewell. Like you mentioned, I've been
We have a question from Ms. Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question. There are several residents asked about FEMA coming in. So what actually dictates FEMA coming in?
In regards to tornadoes? Yes.
That's right.
Okay, thanks for that question. So there are thresholds that FEMA sets for individual parishes and the state. And it's a complicated matrix that they use that determines whether the federal government is going to come in and participate in a disaster. It usually requires a certain level of damage, and for an individual parish, that's a tremendous amount. If you recall the May 14th floods where we had over 300 homes flood, that did not meet the FEMA threshold for damage. And when I say it's complicated matrix, they look at people who are insured versus not insured. If you're insured, that doesn't count towards that total number. If you're not insured, it does. But not only do we not meet the threshold for this event, the state hasn't met their threshold with all of the tornado damage across the state. So while it would be helpful to have them, unfortunately, the Stafford Act sets that or makes the determination whether FEMA is going to come in or not.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gordon. Mr. Martinez?
All right, thank you, President Jewell. As he mentioned, I've been working on a little side project when I have a little bit of time. It's kind of near and dear to me, but prior to coming to the parish, I spent several years mapping erosion and accretion on the barrier islands and looking at the impact of storms on coastal communities and critical and sensitive habitats across coastal Louisiana. So with us having all the information, the data that we needed, and Hurricane Ida hitting home, it was natural that we run this analysis. This area, we focus on 7 or 8 areas here in the Salvador and Timken wildlife management areas. This area is dominated by freshwater marsh, and most of you are probably familiar with the term flotant, which means floating marsh, and essentially that's all this really is. It's a giant, a vast prairie of floating marsh. You know, it's just like a thick mat of floating marsh that's not really anchored down to the soil bottom. It's just roots and rhizomes that are floating on the water, and it's pretty vulnerable to erosion because it's freshwater, and the soil composition isn't as thick or sturdy as the clay soils in the saline and brackish marshes. A lot of the times, we look at the economic impact of the storm based on the widespread structural damage, but we tend to overlook the damage to our wetlands and stuff that are occurring with the passing of these storms. You know, everybody knows they're the buffer or the first line of defense to the storm surge that we have. So as the frequency and intensity of these storms increases, so does the threat these storms pose to our community. So I'm going to show you a series of slides of pre-storm, post-storm for these 7 or 8 areas. And it's hard to look at the whole area and say, hey, it doesn't look like a whole lot, but in the end, you'll see how much land was really lost. So.
Hey, Louis, before you go into that, just talk about the methodology, like how the satellite determines what we looked at.
Well, over the course of the years, we've been capturing the aerial photography, and with that, I've been including it's a color infrared band. The near infrared portion of the spectrum absorbs light pretty heavily, so it's easily to create and this is nerd talk, but it's if you create a ratio of a red band to a near infrared band, you can the water pops out, so you can really make a clear distinction between water and land. So if you just say water is a value of 1, everything else is a value of 0, then you can just say, hey, I got for 2021, you have a 2-color image, water and land, and then for 21, or for the next year, the same thing. So basically, you're just doing math, simple math in the long run. So using these algorithms for detection of water with the data that we do have is fairly easily. Since it's such a big area, computationally, it takes a long time to run these processes. And there's a fair amount of noise involved with it, like shadows and stuff. So the data I'm going to show you, I took out anything less than 10 square meters. So there's going to be, but these areas are pretty vast, and you'll see the amount of, we're talking about acres, not small pieces of land that were lost. So this area right here is just west of Bayou Cuba, the Gulf Canal, and this is pre-Hurricane Ida. If you look at 2020, and you can see some of the differences, and this is post-storm. You can see a lot of the fragmenting on the marsh fringes. And then just so you can see, in this area right here, just that tip is 127 acres. From that point in the bayou to where it touches land is almost 2,500 feet. So that's a pretty long area if you look at it. So just the grass, put in perspective. So you're looking at 187 acres just in this area right here, or 141 football fields. This area is just north of that. The diversion is just to the east. This is 2020, and this is 2021. So a lot of that open land, that's open water that was converted, land converted to open water. So you're looking at about 82 acres just for this one area. Next one. This is the cabanage. If this is 2020 and 21, you can see it grows a little bit. And then in this area here, the red is land loss, the green is gain. These marshes are pretty, it's a unique ecosystem. They're most likely to die. So we don't look at net loss because they were pretty much just moved from one spot to the other. So it's hard to dictate really where this, where the marsh came from. Some of it might have come from Lafitte, Barataria. Some of it probably came from just north of here. But it washed down, and it's. I have a picture of what it looks like now. It's going to die. It's just going to degrade, wash away, and die. So we're looking at 300 acres here. This is like what we call Otto Ponds or the North Ponds. Just west of that, you can see how much fragmenting occurred. All the red is lost, so it's pretty significant. So yeah, and then 366 acres here. And just Bayou des Allemands is to the left here. That's 21. This is probably the worst hit area right here. This is closer to the storm, the path of the storm, the eye of the storm. So 450 acres there. I think the next slide is Cuba Island. That's 2020. You can see a lot of it broken up in the red area converted to open water. And 207 acres. And then I threw this in here because this is where the Davis Pond area where the freshwater diversion is. It doesn't look like a whole lot happened, but you can see if you go, this is 21. So a lot of the wetland loss is kind of sporadic and widespread. I'm assuming it's because the marsh isn't as established. It's still growing as sediment and water's being replenished in that area. So the roots aren't as established as the areas west of there. So overall, just in this area, we're looking at over 3,000 acres of land loss. So over 5 square miles. And if you I brought up in the director's meeting trying to kind of put it in perspective, if you're looking at the area if you're standing on a corner of River Road and 310 and you go all the way down to the diversion on River Road, cut down to Highway 90, back up to Paul Mallard, back north to Hackberry and back up to 310. If you converted all that to water, that's about the area that we lost. So that's a huge area. And for the East Bankers, if you convert all of Ormond, New Sarpy, Valero and Shell plants to open water, that's equivalent to what we lost. So it doesn't look like a whole lot, but over the course of time, as these storms start chipping away at these wetlands, we're looking at the storm surge getting closer to our doorsteps. So this is what it would look like typically before the storm, this area, and this is what it looks like now. This one's kind of hard to see, but what happens is that the surge pushes the marsh up, and it kind of causes it to fold. So you end up with these little creased areas all over where the marsh gets pushed up against each other. Some of it gets dumped on top of each other. And like I said, it just dies. It's really hard for anything to grow. And I just threw this in here because this looks at the area just south of us, like Turtle Bay and the pond, if y'all familiar with that in Lafitte. Look at the amount of area that was converted, the open land that was converted to open water. So that basically leads to the next slide. If we don't take any action within 50 years, all the dark blue area, that's where you're talking about is going to be, all that land would be converted to water. So basically, the levee would be our shoreline. And this is the last slide. So this is just a map of all the levees, all the structures that are put in place to as our storm system, protection system. So if you look, St. Charles is basically has an alley with nothing in between. A lot of that wetland was just devastated. So it's not to ring an alarm or bell, you know, but it is something to keep in mind. But that a lot of times we take for granted, you know, how the benefit of these wetlands, and you know, we could probably start looking at. I think it kind of opens the door for us to start looking for more restoration projects in these areas, you know, because there's not a whole lot going on in that little alley, like I call it. So, and that's all I have, I think. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez, and thank you, President Jewell.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again for doing that. I want you to go ahead and send that report to either Michelle or all the council members so that they have it for themselves. I plan to meet with CPRA regarding this. I know they've mapped coastal land loss throughout Southeast Louisiana using a similar process. I don't know if they've zoomed in as detailed as we have on this. But as Lewis said, I think we need to, in the future, have some more consideration for some of our coastal restoration projects. We do have one that should be happening this year, 1,500 acres on the East Bank in the LaBranche wetlands. That's a QIPRA project. From the conversations I've had with CPRA, if we can work with them and identify projects and engineer projects that they agree with, they will fund them completely. And so I think that kind of needs to be a part of our tool bag, especially with like Cuba Island and in some of these other areas like in Des Allemands, where that marsh that was protecting us, it kind of served its purpose. It was the first line defense. Some of it lost. And now with how much is open south of us, I'd hate to see what Oneida would do today to this area. So just want to throw my 2 cents in.
Councilwoman Cluley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's amazing what just a 24-hour storm, the damage that it can do. And so like Cuba Island, it broke off and floated everywhere. For the most part, that will just break apart and sink. Is that?
It's likely that's going to happen, yeah, because it's, like I said, it's just mats of marsh that are held together, you know, by a root system. So if they're floating around, you know, they're getting bounced around, they're going to most likely just the soil's going to separate, fall down, and just fall. Usually it sinks. Yeah.
Recently, this past weekend, they were marsh burning, and I know you're not a biologist, but if you know the concept of why they burn the marsh, to maybe let the public know, to explain what it's all about.
Oh, why they burn it?
Yeah.
I mean, it replenishes some of the nutrients in the marsh.
And it burns up the dead grass, and so that
Exactly.
it's the fresh roots and stuff can.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, I used to have land in Bashaka, so I know.
Yeah.
But the thing is also, these freshwater marshes can support other vegetation like wax myrtle or tupelos. They'll grow, if they're not burned, they'll grow and take over and make it even more vulnerable. So a lot of times they'll just burn it off and then you replenish the grasses and stuff. So the nutrients from the burn off. You can see a lot.
It's a benefit to the marsh.
It is a benefit, yeah, in the long run, and the rabbit hunting. So.
Mr. Dufresne.
Thank you. To tie into what you were saying about flotons, in Lake Salvador there was flotons with wax myrtles and wild pigs on floating in the lake.
I heard about that, yeah.
And there's still a ton of them in Des Allemands.
Yeah.
A ton.
There is. I
Yeah.
haven't been out there, yeah.
Right down the middle of the bayou. And the main island in no hogs.
Really?
The main island in Des Allemands washed away significantly too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the lighthouse was on. There's no.
Oh, really?
There's nothing. There's no. You can't even tell there was been a lighthouse on that island anymore.
Oh,
But yeah, we went to take a ride to the lake and there was flotons as big as this room with trees and wild pigs on it.
I came in through Lafitte. I didn't go through. I usually launch at under the bridge in Highway 90. But yeah, so I mean, we have the track line on the GPS, so you could see that there was land on either side of us by the rocks in Lafitte, and now it's just open water. So it's pretty.
Yeah, and the
amazing.
wild hogs do a lot of damage too.
Oh, do they?
People don't realize that, how much damage they do.
But I wanted to say also the reason that one of the other reasons I created this is we can establish like a baseline so we can look at other data in the future and look at a potential subsequent recovery of these wetlands. So if they're bouncing back, it's good. If they're not, then it's time to really take action. So at least we have something to go off of now.
Thank you, Mr. Dufresne, and thank you, Mr. Martinez.
All right, thank you.
Ordinances, resolutions introduced for publication and public hearing, Monday, January 23rd, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers, Courthouse, Hahnville. Item number 2022-0355, item number 2022-0356, item number 2022-0357, item number 2023-0001, item number 2023-0002, item number 2023-0003. On to planning and zoning petitions. Item number 2022-0349, an ordinance to amend the St. Charles Parish zoning ordinance of 1981 as amended to change the zoning classification from C3 to OL on lot 89A-2, Coteau de France or Ransom Track as shown on a title survey titled Re-Subdivision of Lot 89A by Lucian C. Gasson, PLS dated June 4th, 1998, as requested by Stanley and Melinda Abear. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The application and request meets 2 out of the 3 rezoning criteria. There's a substantial amount of open land across the road that's part of the mitigation bank. The department, as well as the Planning Commission, recommended approval.
Okay, thank you. File number 2022-0349 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? Ms. Fonseca.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Michael, this is just an observation, but because I realized that, the change to open land will allow the primary use to, the zoning to match more closely the primary use. But it's just a shame that the resident had to go through this because C3 does allow for dog pounds and stables.
All right, thank you, Ms. Fonseca. Is there any more discussion? All right. Please cast your votes for file number 2022-0349. And that passes unanimously. Item number 2022-0350, an ordinance to amend the St. Charles zoning ordinance of 1981 as amended to change the zoning classification from C2 to R1AM on lot D-1, as shown on the title survey entitled Re-Subdivision of a Portion of Property Abutting Gasson Subdivision by Lucian C. Gasson, PLS, dated March 24th, 2015, revised June 3rd, 2015, as requested by Diane L. Dufresne and Joseph Dufresne, Jr. File number 2022-0350 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
I'm Dion Dufresne. I live at 328 Barton Avenue. This is a request. My father passed away in 2014. And at that time, I had the property re-subdivided, and we found out it was commercial property. And at that time, I came before the board, at that time the council, and they gave me a special permit since it was told it was commercial property and that you can't put a residence on a commercial property. Well, I didn't do it at the time. I was retiring and I wasn't ready to downsize. So I started my request a couple of months ago through planning and zoning, and was told that you can't have a trailer on River Road. So we went through the process, and then we found out commercial, you can't put a residential on commercial property. So then I went through the board, the Planning and Zoning Commission. Well, they decided that y'all need to make the final decision. But all I want to do, my dad gave me the property. I want to put a home on it. I like the River Road, and my brother lives there too. But we didn't know it was commercial. When I had it subdivided, that's when I finally found out that was commercial. Well, planning and zoning said I couldn't put a home there. I would have to come talk to y'all. That's all I want to do, is have a home, retire, and just enjoy myself on the River Road. But they said that you can't put a residence on commercial property. I don't plan on selling. I know there's Pentel on one side, and I know there's a lawyer on the other side. As far as noise, I do not hear any noise on either side because they're not there on the weekends. And I was going to put a module home since I was told I couldn't have a manufactured home. Modules are on cement like a regular home. And these homes look like inside that you would have a regular home yourself, sheetrock or whatever. I know that doesn't matter at this time, but, I just want to have my property, put something on it, enjoy retirement. And that's, but I just don't understand if the back part of the property was listed as residential, how can the front of the property be commercial if it wasn't subdivided?
Ms. Dufresne, your time has expired.
Okay, thank you. I hope for y'all consideration.
Okay. Another thing, riverfront is only 44 feet wide.
Could you state your name and address for the record, please, sir?
Joseph Dufresne. I live at 13561 River Road.
Thank you.
Okay, we're talking, I live in the back. My right-of-way is 15 feet for the back lot. The front lot is only 44 feet wide. So at the most you could put is a 34-foot wide building. Okay. It just, most you could put on there is a snowball thing. Because it's that small of a lot. So and then the module homes, they got 2x6 outer walls. You don't even have that in them $1 million houses. The strength, the wind-wise, is equal to it. And, it's just too small of a piece of property for any kind of business. And if this was done in 1981, and it was one piece of property, then 8 years ago when my dad passed away, how can the back be residential and the front be commercial? That's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Dufresne. File number, public hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? Seeing, Ms. Cluley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very familiar with this property. It's always been used as residential. The property is very small and narrow, so I don't know what commercial use could be available for that small a piece of property, so I'm going to vote in favor of this.
Councilman Fisher.
Michael, it seems like we run into this problem a lot along the historical waterways. We got it in the East Bank, we got it on the West Bank, River Road, on the C2 versions and that. So I guess I got a couple of questions. The gentleman referred to that there's a 15-foot right-of-way to get to his property. So if I'm looking right on page 52, the lot width is 65 feet, correct? Okay, and then he has to grant, he has a 15-foot servitude, so that leaves her, like he said, roughly 44 feet. With setbacks, and if they would have to build I'm not going to say stick house, but a framed house, what would be the actual size of a house they could build with setbacks? Because they'd have to file R1 setbacks, correct?
That would be correct.
So 20 feet off the river road.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
20 feet off the river road
Correct.
to front.
20 feet in the
frontage,
back and 5 on the side.
5 on each side.
The lot, in terms of R1A standards, it would meet the frontage and it exceeds the size requirement. The
So
reason
it would be
this,
pretty tight to build a framed house on it, correct?
no, it's a perfectly sized
It's
lot.
perfectly sized for a framed house. So they could do a framed house on it,
Correct.
similar to some of the little lots we have in Norco and some of the smaller stuff that we did, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Fisher. Is there any additional council discussion? Ms. Gordon?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So is a trailer proposed to go on the lot or a house?
Not a module.
A module. So what's the difference between the module home and the trailer, the
The mobile
manufacturer?
/ manufactured home has its building code authorized by its HUD sticker. It's basically created, it's engineered, and then brought in. The modular home comes in pieces. It's partially pre-assembled, but then on site, the final parts are done. It is more of a permanent structure. I mean, both are permanent, but that one has a foundation and more of the typical things you would see on a site-built home.
So if they put the modular home on the lot, would it meet the setbacks?
Yes, it would be like a regular home. You would have to have R1A zoning to do that modular home or R1AM. And then the R1A would require, I think it's a special permit for a modular home.
Councilwoman Cluley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Did you have anybody object at the planning and zoning meeting in regards to this application?
I don't believe so.
I didn't see any in the file.
No.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Fonseca?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Michael, I'm just wondering, because I'm not all that familiar with a modular home, does it have to meet the same code requirements as a framed home?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, there are specific requirements for those modular homes, but they are part of like.
So they're
building.
structurally built
Yes.
to withstand
Yes.
the weather events that we've been experiencing here. Thank you.
Councilman Dufresne?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Michael, what I'm gathering from is if this land's been in their family for a long time, and now with all our new stipulations, we handcuffing them with a piece of property. They either we do what the planning and zoning does and deny it, then they're stuck. They have to sell it and they don't want to sell it. Or we go by with the intent from when their father bought it to build homes on it back then. So, if we don't approve it, we're handcuffing these people. And that's not fair at all to them. I mean, that's not your fault. That's not our fault, but I'm just saying, as things have changed, these people, their father bought this land with the intent for them, I'm sure, to all live on. And then as the rules have changed, they kind of handcuffed them. you know? So, I mean, I'm with Bob. I mean, this keeps popping up more and more. This is something we're gonna have to address.
Well, I mean, to that end, a lot of River Road has I mean, if you were to look at the maps, it's like a painted stripe of commercial along the frontage for the road. So it does cause challenges
That's what
when
I'm
it comes up.
saying.
I think the subdivision line was cut along the zoning lines when that was done.
Okay. Well, I'm in favor to approve it, to let them put what they want on it. You know, this is America, it's their land. Yeah, if they want.
All right, Councilman Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One more question, Michael. In order to put the manufactured home on there that has a slab and components, it has to have the R1AM zoning?
I don't want to speak and be wrong, but yes, R1AM is the primary district for a modular home. Modular, I mean, custom built, like catalog built homes. Manufactured homes are the trailers that you would tow in and park and then put the supports under. You can do modular homes in R1A, but there are stipulations. It basically goes through a planning commission review. That way you can't go into a neighborhood that has all site-built homes and then put in something that's very different.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Are there any additional questions? Ms. Belloc.
Mr. Albert, can you tell me the guidelines for, I heard Dufresne, I heard them say that you can't put a residential home on this commercial property, or you can't, because it's on River Road. That's throughout the parish.
The statement's somewhat misleading because it has nothing to actually do with River Road. It has to do with the zoning that's on the property.
Right.
And there is a lot of this zoning on River Road on both sides of the river. So it's not really about frontage on the road. It's just the zoning specific to the site.
So you can put a modular or?
Under the current zoning, you could do a site-built home through the special permit process through the commission. So it is possible to do that under the current zoning and regulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belloc. Councilwoman Fonseca.
I'm sorry, that just begs the question of why didn't they go that route to request a special permit under the current zoning versus?
I don't want to speak for them, but a manufactured home and a modular home is not eligible for that special permit use.
Manufactured or modular is not, okay. So they have to change the zoning then?
If they are going to go.
If they are indeed wanting to put a modular home.
Right, but there's no stipulation on it, so it could be either one with the proposed zoning.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fonseca. Is there any additional council discussion? No? All right. Please cast your votes for file number 2022-0350. And that passes unanimously. All right. Ordinance is scheduled for public hearing, introduced at a previous meeting. Item number 2022-0352, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 17, Parks and Recreation, Article 2, Special Events, Section 17-18, Procedure, and Section 17-19, Special Provisions. Chief Madre. Madere. Yes.
How y'all doing? Rodney Madia, Chief Deputy at the Sheriff's Office. I know Matt was the one who introduced. I don't know if you wanted to say something first or.
Yeah, I'll just say, so the parish introduced this with help from the sheriff's office. Currently, there's a process to put on an event in St. Charles Parish, like a special event, and there's a process for large events. These changes to The special event permits are requests from the sheriff's office to help with safety concerns regarding large events in the parish, adding things like a little bit more, 15 more days to process the permit, 30 to 45. We added some language about cancellations, as well as some requirements around, if, let's use the West Bank Bridge Park, for example. If your event is going to take up the entire West Bank Bridge Park and you have to park at other locations nearby, we want to make sure that you have written permission from the property owners and make sure that you have a traffic plan and that the sheriff's office can enforce for large events. So it's really been a collaboration with the sheriff and Chief Madair to bring this to the council, because at the end of the day, the sheriff's office is the host of this application, and they are the enforcers of the rules when it comes to the day of special event. And I'll turn it over to Chief Madair for any additional, anything else he wants to say.
Sure. So, thank y'all. So I think this was written in '89, so it's kind of outdated. It may have been amended once, small amendments. So we've run into a few issues with some events, and we wanted to kind of clean this up and make it better for our citizens. So Matt touched on some of them. In the past, there was a blanket special event permit. If you had 20 people or 20,000 coming, it was the same. So one of the changes you'll see is we divided it. If it's under 300 people that you expect to attend, you have, it used to be a blanket 30 days. So 90 days to 30 days. You couldn't do it until 90 days out, but you had to do it 30. And we just found that if we deny that, they didn't have enough time to appeal to the council. It was an unfair advantage to them. And so we moved, if it's under 300 people, 45 days now they have to apply. 90 they can, and some of them get it in 90 days ahead of time. But they have to do it 45. And then over 300 people, it's now 60 days. So they can do it 90, but they have to do it by 60. So that allows us to send it to whichever council person's district it is, send it to the fire chief in that district, send it to EMS, send it to anyone else that needs it. And there's certain people sometimes that need it, like the health and hospitals, Department of Health and Hospitals. And they also have to advertise in the local publication, which is Herald Guide. And then if citizens call us to complain and say, no, we don't want this event because of whatever, and we deny it, they have to appeal to y'all. And this was no time. Sometimes it was like a week ahead of time. It was being denied. That was unfair for y'all, because if they try to appeal to y'all, they would never get in front of y'all. So that's why we moved the days to either 45 or 60. We added things like email addresses. There was no emails back in '89, and we never changed it. If you're a first-time applicant, and we need references now, if you've put on other events. And if you haven't, that's fine, but if you have, we want references of other events you put on. It blanketed the participants to just participants. So now we ask them to divide it, vendors and attendees. It used to just be if food was going to be sold, and now we're asking if it's going to be served or allowed, because again, the Department of Health wants to come in sometimes if you're just serving. So selling it and serving it really is the same thing to the Department of Health. They don't care if you're paying for it or not. They just want to make sure it's safe to consume for the people. And then the same with the alcohol. Sometimes they try to get around the insurance by saying we're not selling alcohol, but they're serving alcohol. Well, it's the same thing for the insurance. You have to have insurance for these events. So now we ask them if it's going to be sold, served, or allowed. So allowed means they bring it in themselves with ice chests and all. And that also changes the amount of sheriff's personnel that we may have. If you have a huge event and you're allowing people just to wheel in ice chests and drink. Parking arrangements that Matt had touched on. Most of the time, you guys are the parking for the Bridge Park or the school board. So now we just need permission from the school board. They need to go talk to the school board and say we're going to park in the school board parking lot, or come talk to whoever needs to for the Dufresne Center or the LaFon, and just give us, because they'll park there without permission. and then liability comes to those people who own that. So we're asking for that, and a traffic plan, because you can't have an event with 2,000 people coming and no traffic plan. They think they're going to have 2 detail officers, and that's what sometimes they try to do. The advertisement had to be 10 days from filing. That just wasn't enough time, so now we're asking them to advertise 30 days out. Again, we're the ones who are the recipients of the public when they don't want the event, or they have issues with the event, we're the ones that they call first. So we just want to give everyone time when we say no, if we say no, for you guys to get involved. And I don't want to put it off on y'all, but that's what the ordinance puts it off on y'all. And then there was no real avenue for them if we denied it to get to y'all in time. So again, the denial helps the citizens, and it helps y'all, and it really helps the people putting in. And then there was nothing for rescheduling. And let me tell you the issue on rescheduling. So somebody could do everything right, advertise, the public has no issue, and we had this come up, and this is why I'm telling y'all. And it was a huge event at the West Bank Bridge Park, and then rain came, and it was going to be rescheduled. Well, they wanted to reschedule it 2 weeks later. Well, there was a family reunion going to take up part of the Bridge Park. Well, it would be unfair for us to give an event for a concert with amplified music when there's already a family event who had rented part of the Bridge Park. So you can't, what we're telling them they can't do is, you can't plan it for this Saturday, call us on Friday and say, it's rained out, we're just going to move it to next Saturday. You can't do that. You have to go through the process again, because the citizens should have the right to come back and protest again because of the events they're having. So that's the last change that we put in there. And I think it's all for the better. It helps everybody out. So if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And I think y'all have it.
Yes. Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
President Jewell.
I just want to make mention too that if all else fails with these folks, with an applicant, they want to take us to court. We've also added that all resulting court action must be heard in the 29th Judicial District for St. Charles Parish, because you may have someone who's outside of St. Charles Parish, outside of the state, trying to do an event. We want to make sure that we resolve those issues in our court system.
Councilwoman Cluley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for updating this. I think it really needed to be done. Do you help them refine their application if there needs to be changes in before they turn it in? Or is there someone that they can talk to when they need help filling out the application?
So we have two, we actually have 3 people, but mainly 2. They walk them through everything. So it starts with coming to our website. A lot of people have the copies already, but they'll come to our website, they'll get it, and then we have a number for them to call. And either my secretary or the sheriff's secretary kind of walks them through the process and helps them. I think so does the council secretary, and then so does Dwayne Foray. And if they're involved, yeah, we help them with everything on it.
I don't think we've ever had anybody that was denied an event come before the council.
No, we tell them that there's an appeal process, but if we deny them, and we have to give them all the reasons, and we have to give it to them in writing, and we do, and they understand the reasons, since I don't think they've ever tried to appeal it.
Thank you.
Was there any other council discussion? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank y'all.
File number 2022-0352 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. State your name and address for the public record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Is there any additional council discussion? All right. Please cast your votes. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Matt, you made reference to the 29th Judicial, but I'm looking at the ordinances as written.
Yeah.
Am I missing something?
It's in the application, and I'm going to let Corey talk about that.
Okay.
Yes, so Matt made a great point when he brought me up. It's in the application process, which can be changed a lot easier for the sheriff department, such as indemnification, what jurisdiction we want to be in, other insurance requirements as well. So the ordinance basically allows the application process, when they consent to it, when they file their application, they will initial and sign and consent to the venue being in the 29 JDC.
Okay, good. So the ordinance does reference the application, and the application has
Correct.
the comments in it.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Fisher. We're good. Okay. Is there any additional discussion? You ready? Please cast your votes for file number 2022-0352. And that motion passes unanimously. Meetings, announcements, notices, etc. Meetings, Community Action Advisory Board, Wednesday, January 11th, 2023, 5 p.m. to Council Chambers. Library Board of Control, Tuesday, January 17th, 2023, 6 p.m. Council Chambers. Pontchartrain Levy District, Tuesday, January 17th, 2023, 6 p.m. Pontchartrain Levy District Headquarters Complex, 2069 Railroad Avenue in Lutcher. Lafourche Basin Levy District, Wednesday, January 18, 2023, 6 p.m., Lafourche Basin Levy District Office, 21380 Highway 20, Vacherie. Board of Adjustment, ZBA, Thursday, January 19, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers. St. Charles Parish Council, Monday, January 23, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers. Announcements, Parish Holiday, Monday, January 16th, 2023, in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Special matters to be considered by the council. Item number 2022-0364, appointment of Chairman of the Operations, Maintenance, and Council Management Committee. Chairman shall name the council, and that would be Councilman Nikki Dufresne. Item number 2022-0365, appointment of Chair to the Legislative Committee. Appointment is to Bob Fisher. Item number 2022-0366, appointment to Chair of the Contract Finance and Administrative Committee. Council would be Councilwoman Holly Fonseca. 2022-0367, appointment to the Chairman of the Special Projects, Public Safety, Health, and Environmental Committee. Appointment to Councilwoman Lysandra Gordon. Item number 2022-0368, appointment of Chairman to the Hurricane Protection Projects Committee, Councilwoman Holly Fonseca. A motion and a second is needed to adjourn. I have a motion by Holly Fonseca and a second by, it went away. Let's try this again. And by Bob Fisher. Please cast your votes. And that passes unanimously. Have a great evening. We are officially adjourned.
emergencies happen, we want you to be the first to know.
But if we can't reach you, we can't alert you.
That's why we need you to register for our new emergency alert system, SCP Alerts.
Signing up is easy.
So text SCP Alerts to 888-777 to get our messages.
From weather-related updates and emergencies,
to evacuations and more.
Sign up for SCP Alerts.
Because our first priority is keeping you safe.
In a natural disaster, severe weather, or local emergency, we want you to know what to do.
Through SCP Alerts, we can help you be prepared and stay safe.
Text SCP Alerts to 888-777.
When you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Sign up for SCP Alerts today.